Hey everyone, I'm Josh,
I'm T.
and this is Jane T's Journey. Today's going to be a little bit different. No intros, nothing. We're just going to get straight into it. Hopefully, get this one in one take. So, if T says something goofy, you get to hear T's goofiness. All right. So, obviously, we're home now. We've actually been home for a while. So, the trip ended at the end of January. Or beginning of Feb. We actually got home on the 1st of Feb. And we've just been running the videos out in between a bunch of other content. The travel videos don't seem to be as popular, so we're just trying to weave it in with everything else that happens in sort of a 3-weekly, 4-weekly cycle.
Hence why the Strake Island clip was on Australia Day, and clearly it's not Australia Day, it's a few months afterwards, so...
That one was released, I think 3 or 4 weeks ago, so yeah. We're running a little bit behind with the videos, but the content is going to catch up soon. One of the things that we said that we would do is do a Q&A after the end of the trip, and we're
finally getting to it.
Yeah, we're back in the Honey Pot to do the Q&A. So most of these questions have come from our viewers, from our followers, and a few of these questions I've expanded on a little bit. So I think the way we'll do this is for the first bunch of questions, I'll give my answer and you give your answer. And then when we get down to the nitty-gritty detail ones here, I can just read out what's on the laptop. So
we'll try not to bore you.
So the first question, what went well?
Well, we got home in one piece. Just. I mean, that counts, right?
I mean, what went well? The van went well.
Yeah, we didn't. Well, yeah, we didn't have any real breakdowns. I think something broke under the van, but that was it. I think there was some water thing.
Yeah, we'll get down to
yeah,
what
that's
broke,
later.
But,
yeah, well, so yeah, no breakages really.
The setup pretty much worked.
Took a bit to get into, but once we got to I think the third location, we had a bit of a flow.
A bit of a routine. Yeah.
It got to a point where we could just go. We knew what we had to do. We knew what to set up. The kids knew what they had to do. And then we just did it. And the same with pack up too. We had our little routine and we knew what we had to do and just did it. So it did make it go a lot smoother.
Yeah, everyone had their jobs and everyone knew what they needed to do. So yeah. So I guess from my perspective, what went well. Ruby, the Jeep, went well. The solar setup worked as intended.
Yeah, this is all your stuff.
Yeah, the camper went well. Yeah, what didn't go so well? The weather.
Part weather, part behaviour of children, blue bottles. They suck.
Yeah, the weather was probably the biggest one, but I guess it's the biggest thing you can't do anything about, right? So, so we went up the coast. So first of all, we went to the entrance on the Central Coast. We were originally supposed to stay at I think it's Ourimbah, is how it's pronounced. On the highway between Sydney and Newcastle, but just before we arrived, the week before, it got flooded out, so we had to change plans there, and we ended up at Caravan Park in the entrance, which turned out not to be too bad.
Considering we don't usually stay at caravan parks, it was a good park to start off with at least, so we were able to get in some showers before the next 3 weeks of not having a proper shower. So.
Shower tent.
Shower tent.
And then we went from there to, I keep forgetting the name of the place. It's like Karangat or Karingat. I don't know how it's exactly pronounced. Yeah, up near Taree. We stayed at a hip camp there. From there we went to Delicate Beach, or Delicate Campground, which is just south of Crescent Head. And then we went from Crescent Head to Red Rock, which is about half an hour north of Coffs.
Oh, a bit further than that, I think.
Somewhere around there. And then we went to Brisbane. We stayed in Brisbane for 5 days.
Yeah, suburb called Alexandra Hills, from memory.
Nice and close to the water there, and
not so close to the theme parks, though.
Yeah,
or the dog sitter.
Well, theme parks is Gold Coast, so we had a bit of some hiccups with the dog sitters and stuff there. And the original plan was to come inland back via Narrabri, but that changed. So that was one of the things that didn't go so well. I mean, it worked out in the end, but we ended up coming from Brisbane back down to a place called Grants Beach, which is just sort of halfway between Port Macquarie and I've found out it's Lake Cat Eye, not Cathy, Lake Cat Eye. And then we went from there to home. So that was a bit of a slog. As far as what didn't go so well, yeah, as I said, the weather. When we left the place near Taree, it started raining. And then we were totally rained out for the next day and a half at Delicate Campground, which is a real shame because it's a beautiful spot.
Yeah. But at least we got to get more of a look at it when we came back.
Yeah.
Instead of going to the trout farm.
Port Mac anyway, so yeah. Otherwise the weather was reasonable. We copped a pretty big storm when we were in Brisbane, but the funny thing is we were visiting friends when the storm came through, and where we were camped the storm went around us.
Yeah.
So we raced home through the storm, driving through rain where cars were pulled over and parked and everything, and we didn't end up getting wet.
One of the advantages of a Jeep with big lights, we could just drive through
the
water. We were on a mission. We needed to get back.
Yeah, we needed to get back because everything was open. And then we got there. We went through the storm, came out the other side, got to our campground, closed everything up, sat around, and then it didn't rain. So
lesson learned: follow the radar. Don't rush home, because chances are it wasn't even there to begin with. So. But yes, the behaviour side of things, we nearly sent our daughter flying. Well,
we'll get into that one in the next one. What was it like living with two teenagers in such a small space? It's a challenge. I mean, they both had their moments.
Just a little heads up, these pair are complete polar opposites. Our son is very scientific, very routine-based.
Very reserved too.
Well, not lately, but
he's
getting there.
He has his smart moments, but he's not wildly outspoken.
No. Where our daughter, on the other end, is your typical teenage girl, doesn't want to do anything, puts her nose up at the first hint of
effort,
and has to complain about everything. And just, we nearly sent her flying home back to Bathurst because we were getting a little fed up. But we managed to wrangle her back in, mainly because we were going to theme parks and we said we'll go without her. But, it's typical teenagery.
It took a little while to settle into a routine, and I think that was probably the biggest thing is our son
out of their comfort zone.
Yeah, well, our son settled into the routine quite well, but our teenage daughter not so much. She got to a point there where it be honest, it got pretty bad. She almost got put on a plane home, which is, I mean, that's not a good thing to say, but traveling with teenage kids is hard, and you need to make sure that you've got a good relationship with your significant other, because it'll test you. Absolutely, in such a small space, it will 100% test you. And
a lot of the places we went to didn't have internet, or did have service for that matter. So, normally we go, look, if you're that bored, just jump on your device. But they couldn't even do that. So that was a good thing for me. I liked it because they couldn't go on any devices for a while. It was great.
If we turned the Starlink on, they could, but
but they didn't know about that.
Yeah, Starlink's pricey, so yeah, we only turned it on when we needed it. So
yeah.
So what broke? I got two things. So when we arrived in Brisbane, I put the camper up, and fortunately in Brisbane we had water, tap water available, so we were plugged in Brisbane, which was nice because it meant we could have a little bit longer showers and less of a worry about water.
Is that the hose, the tap you ran over?
No.
You sure about that?
No. It's not on footage, so it didn't happen.
Oh, sure, yeah, because we didn't catch it on footage. It didn't exist, okay. Sure.
Yeah. No, so the drain on the AVan, you guys have already seen that video. People who are following along would have seen it. If not, go have a look back through our videos. I did a AVan tips and tricks episode on repairing your tank drain or upgrading your tank drain. Our tank drain broke, and we did a bunch of, not off-road as such, but we did a bunch of dirt roads while we were away. And funnily enough, the camper held up really well on the dirt roads. It was the section between Red Rock and Brisbane, which is all beautifully paved highway, that we smashed the tank drain on. So we must have picked up a rock or some debris on the road or something, and it smashed our tank drain. And by the time we got to Brisbane, we had almost no water. The other thing was, and this is one for those of you who are fitting out DC-DC setups in your car, when I originally put the DC-DC into Ruby, our Jeep Gladiator, I set it up for a 30 amp DC-DC, and I used one of those large blade fuses. Now I'll find if I did actually take a photo of it when it failed, I'll flash it up now. When I got to Brisbane, I went back through the charging history, and I had expected the van to be fully charged by the time I got to Brisbane, and it wasn't. And so I had a look at what was happening, and the DC-DC was cutting in and out, and I had a look under the bonnet, and I found that the main fuse I'd used had actually melted. And apparently it's a common problem caused by the fact that what I originally spec'd for 30 amps was okay, but at 50 amps, which is something that I upgraded not long before we left, it melted the fuse holder. So
I remember that, because we were doing something in the camper and you were outside in the stinking heat trying to fix something.
Yeah, it wasn't a real pleasant experience to repair. It was 36 degrees in the shade. It was the first full day we were there. It was 36 degrees in the shade.
Queensland weather too, not just New South Wales weather. 85%
humidity. So yeah, that was not a fun thing to repair in Brisbane. Certainly could have been worse, but yeah. The next question, I guess, is a little bit related. What oopsies did we have along the way? Well, I guess you've just mentioned one of them. I accidentally reversed over a tap. Fortunately, didn't break the tap, but could have. But given that it was on a private property with a hip camp, it could have been a lot worse. In the end, no harm, no foul. That was yeah.
Would you classify one of the dogs escaping as an oopsie?
Oh yeah. When we were at Delicate Beach.
Wolfie decided to climb the fence. We thought it was a pretty dog-proof fence, but I left a towel hanging over it to dry. Not that it dried anyway, because it was raining all the time. And he decided to use it as a form of escape. He climbed up the towel to jump the fence, and Josh ran for a while to catch up to him.
So I was cooking dinner, or we were cooking dinner. I can't remember who was cooking. One of us. And
I don't even know if we were cooking.
Wolfie jumped over the fence, and he does this thing where he needs to escape to get to you. He will run 3/4 of the way towards you, and then realise that he's got freedom.
I'm free.
Freedom, and he took off. Now, fortunately for us, he hates the beach. He hates the water. He hates the ocean.
Hates the sound of it in general.
So
that was a saving grace.
I took chase in thongs in the rain. I took chase.
Sorry, it was funny.
And I had a few choice words to say at him. And I'm sure everyone in the campground took great amusement in watching me chase this dog that's about this big
I did.
through the campground. He took off down one of the tracks that went to the beach, which is fine. Like, if he'd ended up on the beach, that would have been okay. There wasn't really anywhere he could go. But he came over the crest of the dunes, saw the beach, looked at me, and decided I was the lesser of two evils, and just sat down and looked at me like, uh-oh, I've done a bad thing.
And now we can't trust him. So
it was pretty good for the rest of the trip.
Provided we didn't leave anything near the fence for him to climb over.
Yeah, I think the issue there was we were both outside the pen at the time, and when we're both outside the pen, he stresses and he wants to be with us. So
he's a sook.
Yeah.
Big bloody sook.
Yeah. All right, next question. How do we plan for the weather?
We didn't. You plan it as if for any holiday. You plan for everything. So, you throw your brollies in the front. You pack your wet weather gear in case, because it's Australia. There's give and take. 4 seasons in one day. You just pack for it. You don't plan for it. You just do it. It's just a habit, I guess. Because I know definitely here in Bathurst it's always 4 seasons in one day. So yeah.
I think just to add to that, we did change our plans on the way home, as I said earlier, because of the heat that was forecast.
We did not want to melt.
Yeah, you can change your plans to some extent, but you can't drastically change your plans. And the weather that we copped on the way up, the heavy storms, we couldn't have predicted that they were going to happen at the time that they happened, and they were the whole way up the east coast. So, even if we decided, we want to try and outrun the storm, the only option we would have had would have been to go inland, which would have completely messed up all the timelines for all the plans for like theme parks and stuff that we had with the kids. So you just make sure your setup can handle it, and you grin and bear it. As I said, we spent a whole day in the camper when we were at Delicate Beach. We didn't leave the camper or the campground for the whole day because it was just raining. I got a whole bunch of editing done.
They're good days for this sort of stuff.
Yeah, the kids watched some. We did actually have the 5G on there, so
it magically appeared for that particular day.
Yeah, so the kids had internet access, and we just kind of hunkered down and waited for it to clear. I mean, there's not much else you can do. So, next one, did the aircon handle the heat?
We didn't really take it. If we went to Narrabri to do a proper test on it, it would have been interesting.
So
we were only running it mainly of a night time because we needed it to charge through the day, but we just didn't. Yeah, we didn't really run it through the day to find out how well it actually handled the proper heat.
Yeah, so. Look, we've sort of done some tests with the aircon in the AVan, and this ties into the next question: how many times did you use the aircon, or how did we use the aircon? So for the trip, we were away for a grand total of 21 nights. And generally speaking, we weren't spending that much time in the camper during the day. And
21 nights? That doesn't seem like a lot.
Yeah, it was 21 nights.
Wow. Okay.
3 weeks.
It was a blur then.
3 weeks and 1 day. We left on a Saturday and we got back on a Saturday. So, yeah, 21 nights, of which 9 nights in total we ran the air conditioner for the full duration of the night. So the air conditioning in the AVan, it can't keep up during the day. The problem with the AVan, the insulation's not great, and being that it is an underbunk air conditioner, it doesn't handle the heat too well. I do have some plans to upgrade the vent sizes, get the airflow working a little bit better, and also replace the pipes with some insulated piping. Some other people have reported that makes a significant improvement to the cooling effect in the camper. But regardless, it's never going to cool the annex, and that's where the kids live during the day. And where they sleep at night, and we've had it out in once it's in the full sun, especially with the extra heat load from the solar panels that we've got on, it just doesn't keep up.
That's why we're better off not being around. We use the day to go out on adventures, so by the time night time comes, at least it's started to cool off a bit, and the kids will have their little fans to circulate the air in there to try and cool it down again.
Yeah, they can handle the heat a little bit better than we can.
Oh, absolutely.
Running the air conditioner overnight, allowing us to get a good night's sleep was the key. The only thing with that is we've only got 480 amp hours of lithium. Now, I realise for an AVan that's heaps, but when you're running an inverter to run an air conditioning unit, especially an underbunk unit, which is not hugely efficient, it will drain that overnight. So we would put the aircon on about 9:30, 10 o'clock at night, and we'd wake up at 6:30, 7 o'clock the next morning, and the batteries would be sitting on 30, 25%, something like that. Turn the aircon off. Mornings are usually pretty cool, so do our morning stuff and then go out for the day.
Which results to our next question: how did we handle the heat?
We didn't.
No, I'm sorry, but I will not live in Queensland. The humidity was just no.
Yeah, lots of beaches.
I'm sorry, but no.
Lots of beaches.
That's the perk, is at least if you're hot, you can go to the beach. Where New South Wales has got that nice sort of. It doesn't have the humidity. You could be 40 degrees, but you could still tolerate it because it'll be a far less humidity percentage. But I felt as soon as we crossed the border into Queensland, it was. Oh.
Yeah, I think it kicked in before we got to Queensland, but anyway.
But that's just me.
So this is a question for you. This is from somebody else who wanted to get your take on things. So how does an older single female with 2 dogs start, especially with lower confidence and tips for travelling with dogs?
I guess in that regard, you start off small. Just start off with, trips closer to home. Like, as if you're worried about the side of things, like with the dogs, for example, if they're not very comfortable with traveling, yeah, just start off light, you know, go maybe half an hour out of town or an hour out of town, and then just build it up a bit at a time. And then once you start to get the confidence of, you know, just doing like a overnight trip, you know, turn it into a weekend trip, and then turn it into a little bit each time. Just, that's all you can do, is just pace yourself and, you know, do what makes you comfortable, and then, you know, just work your way up to what you want to do. And then, yeah, once you've got that stamina to want to do it, you won't want to stop, because it's really fun. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah. Tips for travelling with dogs. Obviously, we have the annex set up, and we have a skirt that goes at the front of the camper, and we've got the fence. The fence has been absolutely invaluable for having the dogs. If we had to have the dogs on lead every time we get out of the camper, it'd be a nightmare.
Yeah. There are a lot of places you have to have them on lead, where at least we give them, they shouldn't be on a lead all the time. They need to have their chance to run around, and if even on lead, they're going to be dragging you around. It's exciting for them. It's a whole new place, new smells, new everything for them. So naturally, you don't want them to be on a lead the whole time. They need their space.
But at the same time, they can't be uncontained.
Exactly.
So that's where
you
the
need
fence
to be
comes
able
in.
to let them be dogs, really.
Yes. That's where the fence comes in. And the other thing with the fence is, if they wake up at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, you can just sort of, you know,
You don't have to stumble around looking for a lead and all that. You just open
you
the door
just
and
sort
go,
of
okay, off you go.
half stumble out of bed, to turn the outside light on. If you've got the outside light on, people won't be able to see past the light anyway. So
We usually angle the camper away from other people anyway, so we don't blind them.
Yeah, well, if you turn the outside light on and you just open the door, people won't be able to see past the light anyway. So if you've got a dressing gown or something on, they're not going to see you anyway. So the dog can just jump out and do their business and then jump back in, and that's what ours have trained themselves to do. I mean, we didn't really train them to do that particularly. We just kind of worked it out. So dogs are smarter than most people give them credit for. So.
And at the end of the day, they are part of the family. We've got to make them comfortable as well, not just us. You know, they're not just our tag-alongs; they're part of our experiences of the holidays. So they've got to have fun too. And you know, a lot of the time we were on our trip, we deliberately found dog parks so they could get a decent run in. They could, you know, we could just sit out and chill and have some lunch while we let the dogs do their own thing. So, you know, because they're family. They're our fur babies. So they're just as important as us.
The only other thing I'd add to that is just be aware of where dogs are unallowed. Because there's a lot of beaches, there's a lot of parks, there's a lot of attractions where you can't take them.
And a lot of people that don't read signs that say you can't have them there but still do.
Yeah, and there's also a lot of, I don't want to say misleading, but unclear information with regards to national park boundaries and in particular signage on beaches as to where you can and can't have dogs. You can get caught out with that, so just be aware of that. All right, next question. Highlight of the trip. What was your highlight of the trip?
Theme parks.
Theme parks?
I hadn't been to them since I was a kid, so it was great to actually get back up there. And I think looking back at it now, I'm kind of glad we did it when we did it, because with all a month or two later we got back, there was that Cyclone Alfred up there, and then there's all the flooding up there now. So it really makes you think that, wow, you know, it was only this time a couple of months ago we were up there and all of this stuff is happening now. You're kind of glad you did it when you did it. But I've got to say it was probably the theme parks for me, because, you know, they're great. They're really fun, and I got to take my kids to something amazing that, you know, I had the opportunity to do as a kid, so I wanted them to experience it as well. So being able to photograph them having, you know, on the roller coasters and stuff, and their expressions of them crapping himself on them too.
We got T onto a roller coaster. I'll show you a photo of that. We actually
won't.
Yes, I will. We got T onto a roller coaster, which was I'm pretty proud about that thing. T is
I hate heights, and I hate really fast things. I mean,
rushes.
It wasn't exactly the fastest roller coaster. It was the Looney Tunes one at Movie World, but hey, it was still something, and you got me on there, and that was enough for me.
Yeah.
Everyone else went on the Leviathan at SeaWorld, and those photos are priceless.
Yeah. The Leviathan is like a really, really fast wooden design roller coaster, and the kids wanted to go on it, and I don't think they realised what they were in for, because...
But at least it got them at Hurdle, then they wanted to go on everything then.
Yeah, they did.
So,
They did. Highlight of the trip for me, probably an unexpected highlight was just, and I posted a couple of reels on this. Those who have been watching on our Facebook page would have seen these reels. It's just standing on the beach at the back of Ruby, cooking a barbecue, no one else around, you know, watching T and the kids go for a swim, dogs running around at our feet. Like, I mean, what's not to love about that? That was it for me. So
sunrise on the beach.
Yeah,
that was awesome.
You got that?
Yes,
I didn't.
I did. I got that a couple of times.
I was asleep. So.
Yes, well, you got to sleep.
Low point of the trip.
Blue bottle.
Blue bottle.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. T got stung
that'd
by
have
a
to
blue
be
bottle.
the lowest point because that was torture. That was absolute hell.
Haven't you heard? Most people it settles within an hour.
Yeah, it didn't for me. I don't know why. It took nearly. I think, yeah, we discussed that in the clip. I got stung. It was probably 1 or 2 in the afternoon.
You're still in pain that night.
I was still in pain that night. Luckily, I had some pain relief in the camper, and then I woke up the next morning. It was actually finally gone. I had applied heat, applied cold, applied water. Didn't apply pee. Thank goodness I didn't want to anyway. And
Matt did say that would help.
Yeah, well, no, no, Matt. If you want someone to pee on your leg, that's fine. That's you. Oh, no, I'm going to hear the end of that.
No, you're never going to hear the end of that. But anyway.
Yeah, so that'd be mine because it just, the experience of it was absolute hell, and I cannot imagine if it happened to the kids. That's, I think the fear factor was that this tortured me. How would it feel if one of the kids got stung? Because it felt like the whole leg was on fire.
It was also a lesson for us in you know, how to read the beach and how to understand when it might be safe to swim and when it might not be safe to swim. Yeah, East Coast. Australia is dangerous. For those who are watching from overseas, I think there's something like there's the list of things that can't kill you is smaller than the list of things that can.
I've had flashbacks to scared weird little guys now.
Yeah.
Come to Australia, you might accidentally get killed.
Just be careful we don't get a copyright flag on that.
Sorry.
All right.
They're awesome.
Low point of the trip for me. Look, this is a parents thing. I'm a stepdad, and I make, you know, I don't hide it. But kids will test you, and when our daughter kicked up, she kicked up pretty hard, and there's a big part of me that at that point seriously thought about just packing up and going home because I wasn't having fun anymore. I wasn't enjoying it. I wasn't having fun. I'm just going to open the door because the dogs are want to come in. So, come on.
Is it the dogs or is it the kids?
No. Well, the kids aren't here at the moment, and they won't be home for a little bit. So, yeah.
Hi, puppies.
Speaking of the dogs, I suppose maybe this is a good opportunity to properly introduce the 2 little ones. Anyway, we have.
Buddy.
Well, you take him. I'll take her. So we have 2 English toy terriers. And these English toy terriers are not very common in Australia, so that's what we have. So the one I've got here, her name is Pippi, and the other one here, his name is
El Turdo.
His actual name is Wolfie, because what do you call a tall guy? Shorty. What do you call a big dude? Slim. What do you call a tiny dog? Wolf. So yeah, his name is Wolfie. So.
And he's a wuss. Very big wuss.
All right.
One of the other things we did in Queensland was actually go back to his adopted family. We got Wolfie from a lovely lady in Queensland who was happy to send him down to us in New South Wales via plane. So we reunited him with his original mum, and I'm pretty sure she loved catching up with Wolfie.
She was very happy to see him. So
there was a purpose for the trip. It wasn't just some random trip. We wanted to take Wolfie home for a visit. So, yeah.
All right, getting into some of the technical questions now. So
this is all you.
T's going to tune you out for a bit of this. How many kilometres and how much fuel did we use? Now, this is the first time T's seeing some of these numbers, so you might see some interesting reactions from T. So we travelled 4,099.9 kilometres. Those of you who have watched our most recent travel episode would have seen that already. The
0.9.
the average on the trip computer said 19 point something litres to the 100. My calculated average was 20.5 litres to the 100 kilometres. Now, there's a fair bit of towing. There's a lot of beach driving on that, so a lot of low range fall driving, a lot of like short errands, start-stop trips. Given that we drive a Jeep that's lifted and has big tyres and, you know, all the mods, I don't think that's too bad. It's certainly not fantastic, but you know, that's the price of having a Jeep. It is what it is. They are hungry on fuel. So in total, it was about 840 litres of fuel for that 4,100 Ks, and that came into a rough total of about $1,500 worth of fuel over 3 weeks. So, yeah, that's the price of travelling. Yeah, fuel was pretty. We didn't have any issues getting fuel. Yeah, we didn't have any issues getting fuel. I did find that there were some pretty wild variations on the fuel prices, and in particular, the servos on the highway could be as much as 30 cents a litre more expensive than the servos, 2 or 3 minutes off the highway. So use your fuel check apps. Make sure that you do your research. There was one fuel stop that we pulled into that I didn't check, and that was one that stung us. I think fuel there was nearly 35 cents a litre more expensive than everywhere else, and we were at a point where we had no other choice. There was no other fuel within range. So yeah, just do your research when you're looking at putting fuel in, and plan your stops around fuel prices. People with more efficient vehicles than us won't have that stress as bad, but yeah, certainly something to be aware of. Where did we stay? And I guess how do we rate them maybe at the same time? So first stop was the entrance. We stayed at Two Shores Holiday Park in the entrance. Yeah, that was a caravan park. So that was a. It
was very busy, obviously because of school holidays, which you can't avoid. So it was busy, and like I said before, it was good to have to start off with amenities. Actually getting to have a proper shower before hitting the nitty gritty of the good old shower tent. So.
Yeah. And I mean, the campsite that we had an unpowered site, so we didn't have power anywhere. We were totally reliant on the power system in the camper.
If we were to stay there in the powered section, it was all under trees anyway.
We wouldn't have got a site.
No,
there were no powered sites available. So
and they were all under the shade where we were. It was a pretty good spot. We could set up the solar panels.
Yeah, so their website does say 2 dogs.
Hello.
But if you give them a ring and have a chat to them and explain your situation, if you're like us and you've got 2 dogs that count for 1 and a third, then they might be flexible. They might not be. Our experience was they were happy for us to be there. The dogs were well behaved.
Yeah, she's not a dog. She's a toy. She doesn't count.
Yeah, she's
small enough to be
she's a stuffed toy that moves.
Exactly.
So
she's a remote control dog.
Yeah. The next place we stopped was Karingat. That was that one.
I'm just reading your writing here. I just know that's the
that's the correct spelling. That was a place through Hit Camp. We did stay at quite a few Hit Camps on our travels, and that was at a property called Herring Estate. We were the only ones there.
It was awesome, and that was when we copped a really big storm that night as well, and I managed to get footage of that because I love chasing storms when I can.
Yeah, and it was perched right up on the top of the hill on the eastern side of the freeway, just outside of Taree. And you could actually see, when it was clear, you could actually see across the top of the trees right down to the ocean. So that was pretty cool. The next one was up near Crescent Head, was Delicate Campground. Now, this one is managed by National Parks and Wildlife Service, but it is a nature reserve, not a national park. So you can have your dogs there. They do need to be on lead at all times. The beach, which is walking distance, is not an off-lead beach, but it is a dog-friendly beach. So,
not that our dogs like the beach anyway.
Yeah,
80 does, but not this pair.
Yeah, there were more people at Delicate Campground than I expected. It wasn't packed, but the campground was certainly showing signs of the weather, and yeah, there were definitely more people there than I expected, but given the proximity of the beach and stuff.
You stop your growling.
given the proximity to the beach and stuff, that was a good spot. That one had drop loos and flush loos, which was nice. It meant we didn't need to rely on a chemical toilet there. All the other hip camps and all the other places, or all the hip camps, we had to rely on our chemical toilet, which is fine. It is what it is. The next place we went to was Red Rock. That was on an old fish farm called Reg's Place. Now the guy who runs it is actually Reg's son, and the fish farm is well and truly decommissioned, but there's heaps of old ruins through the property of the old fish farm that's there. There's an old airstrip. He welcomes you into the property. You're welcome to have a walk around. There's plenty of bird life. Again, easy access to Coffs Harbour, easy access to local beaches. Just really nice place. The next one we stayed at was a bit different for us. It was actually in Brisbane suburbs. It was in Alexandra Hills, and a little place called Short Stump Ranch. That was another hip camp. It's a little 5-acre property, and that wasn't too bad. It was busy though.
There was a few people there.
Yeah, they've
Heaps
created
of spiders.
Yeah, there were lots of little huntsmans and stuff running around in the grass. The grass was quite thick in places, and there were lots of little huntsmans and stuff running around. So that was an unexpected one. The huntsmans running around. The kids, kids dealt with it, but they weren't real happy about it. So
No.
yeah. And then from there we went back down the coast and we stayed at a property called Wild Hope Farm at Grants Beach. And again, this was just another hip camp, not far from the beach. There's a 4-wheel drive beach just over the road, and one of the dogs is walking on the lounge, which is why the camera is moving.
Come here, buddy. Come on.
Don't encourage him to walk over the table.
Come on, buddy. Oh,
Wolfie,
just scared me.
Off. Sorry, we'll just fix dogs. Fix up the dogs. Yeah, and from there came back home. So that's where we stayed. Which beaches did we do? So I've listed all of these out in order, and I think I've got all of them. So the first one we did was the entrance. I think it was the entrance north dog beach, or north entrance dog beach, which is not a 4-wheel drive beach, but it is dog friendly and dog off lead friendly. So that was opposite, or sort of opposite, the Two Shores Holiday Park where we stayed. The next one was Catherine Hill Bay Beach and Jetty, which was really, really nice. We actually had the dogs in at the dog sitter for that one, because that one's not a 4-wheel drive or a dog-friendly beach. There is a surf lifesaving club there, but it's, not a dog-friendly one. The next one was Nora Head Rock Platform. And had we known this one was dog-friendly, we probably would have taken the dogs in there, but we didn't realise it at the time. So that was the rock pools that we went through at Nora Head, at the lighthouse there. So that was really cool. If you haven't seen that, that's worth going up. Even if you're in Sydney, just go up to Nora Head for a day trip, spend a day at the rock pools. You could spend a whole day there easily. The next one, and these are all 4-wheel drive beaches. Yeah, I think these are all 4-wheel drive beaches. So the next one was Sandbar Beach. So that's just down near the Booty Booty National Park, or just south of the Booty Booty National Park. Yeah, you're probably thinking about that sign. The kids in T had to get a booty shot at Booty Booty. So the next one was Tuncurry Beach, which is the beach that runs from Tuncurry. I can't remember where it goes up to, but that's where
Tuncurry.
No, it goes from Tuncurry up north. I can't remember.
That one.
It goes up in the direction of Old Bar, but it comes out before Old Bar. I can't remember where it actually comes out. That's where you got stung.
That's why I can't remember it.
So
It was all a blur.
Yeah, there was some really nice rock pools at the northern end of that beach. We probably should have just driven the length of the beach and then had a swim up at the rock pools, because the rock pools were nice and sheltered, and we wouldn't have had any blue bottles there. So, lesson learned. The next one was Northshore Beach at Port Macquarie. This is another one we didn't swim at. We didn't swim at this one, but we drove it because we were heading from Port Mac back to our campsite at Delicate Beach. and we either had a choice of taking the inland road, the four-wheel drive track behind the dunes, which we'd been told was really, really bad. We probably would have got through with Ruby. We didn't have the camper on at that stage, but you know, diving down four-wheel drive tracks with no support and no help and on your own while you're on holiday is a recipe to get stuck. So we chose to drop down on the beach. We drove the length of Northshore Beach, dropped through the track at the other end, and then headed back up to Delicate Beach, or Delicate Campground. I couldn't actually find the name of this beach, so I've just called it Delicate Beach. It's the beach at Delicate Campground. That one's not a four-wheel drive beach, but it is dog-friendly. The next one, and probably my second favourite beach of all the beaches we did, was Woolgoolga Back Beach. That was a cool little one. That was the one that we found near Red Rock. Remember we went over the dunes and there was like that island out there that we couldn't drive to?
Oh, I think so. I thought that's the one that was at Stackbroke.
No, that was a different one. So the Woolgoolga Back Beach, we popped out there after we spent the day in Coffs, and it was a ridiculously hot day. And it got we just decided, you know what, stuff this. Let's just go find a beach so that we can cool off. So we went out there, the Woolgoolga Back Beach. The four-wheel drive section's not huge, and it isn't out and back, so it's not like a go in at one end and come in at the other. But we were the only ones there, so it was nice to have that beach to ourselves. And I got the barbecue out, and we had dinner on the beach there, and that was pretty cool. The two beaches that we did on Stradbroke Island, he's barking at the pump for the diesel heater because it's going
not 80
clunk,
at the door.
clunk, clunk. It could be. There's nothing there.
You there, fat dog?
There's nothing there. She's probably asleep. She's probably asleep inside the house. We are at home. We chose to do this in the camper because we thought that was better. So the next two beaches were on Stradbroke Island. So that was Flinders Beach and Main Beach. So we drove from one end of Flinders Beach to the other, and we didn't do the whole of Main Beach. We ended up running a little bit short on time when we were at Stradbroke Island, and we do plan to go back. When exactly that will be, I'm not sure, but we did do some of Main Beach on Stradbroke, and apparently we got really, really lucky because the beaches at Stradbroke were rock hard firm, like really, really rock solid. We aired right down for that one because we were expecting it to be powder soft, and it turned out to be really, really firm. So yeah, that was a nice surprise. The next one was Lighthouse Beach. That was at Port Macquarie, and the rain that they'd had a couple of weeks earlier had washed all the sand off the beach. So we ended up doing some rock crawling on Lighthouse Beach. We went in at the northern four-wheel drive entrance, and we came out at the car park at the just north of Lake Cat-Eye. And yeah, we had to do a bit of rock crawling to get through the beach, and in order not to drive through the water, because you don't want to be driving through salt water because that's really bad for your car. I had to take the high line and got on some pretty decent leans, and I actually kicked the kids out of the car at one stage there because I wasn't real sure what I'd gotten myself into. But yeah, that was a bit of fun. After that, we did pop down to Dunbogan Beach. I will tell you, if you go down to Dunbogan Beach with your four-wheel drive, pay really, really close attention to where the dog-friendly zone ends, and that's all I'm going to say about that. You could get yourself in trouble. We didn't, but you could. So just be very, very careful on that beach. The national park signage is pretty terrible in some of these places as to where the national parks or where council-controlled beaches stop and national parks starts. So just be careful you don't fall foul of the law there, because you could end up having a real nasty surprise when the ranger comes up to you.
Is that where Miss lost her glasses?
Yes, that's. I think that's where Miss lost her glasses. So, and then finally the last one we did was Grants Beach, and Grants Beach was really, really cool. There were eagles soaring above the rocks and stuff there. There were paragliders.
I actually did a photo shoot with Ruby.
Yeah, there were paragliders gliding off the top of the peaks there. That was really cool. And out of all the beaches we did, Grants Beach wasn't It wasn't spectacular from a beach perspective. Like, it wasn't, beautiful white and like it
was
wasn't anything
rocky
like that. But
adventurous.
it was just really nice. It was just, and it was really private. Granted, Grants Beach. The area that we went to, you wouldn't be able to drive to at anything other than low tide, and you'd need to pay really close attention to the tides because you could very easily get stuck in that section of beach and have no way out if you went in with a four-wheel drive until the next low tide. All right, next question. How do the beach permits work? If you figure it out, let us know. They're all different.
Are they? I thought you just walked in, paid for it, and then left again.
They're all different. So in Foster Tuncurry, you go into the Visitors Information Centre, or you can buy one online. I went into the Visitors Information Centre. So you can go into the Visitors Information Centre, fill out the form, pay your money over the counter. You can get, I think it was a 1 month or a 12-month permit. They're all different, and this is, I guess, the point I'm trying to make. So Foster Tuncurry, that's what you had to do. Port Macquarie, they have it's like a parking app. So if you pull up in a car park in a city and to pay for car parks, they don't have meters anymore in a lot of these places. You just scan the code on the meter and then you pay for it with your phone. Well, they've done the same thing for the beach permits. And so you buy a permit at any one of the beach entrances, and it covers you for all the rest of the beaches for the period of time that you've purchased the permit for. Coffs don't have a permit system. So if you're in Coffs beaches, you can just go. Why can't it be like that everywhere? Strake Island, you have to purchase the permits off the I think it's the native or the traditional owners of the land. Sorry, is the correct term. The traditional owners have had a lot of Strake Island handed back to them. And so they manage the beach permits for there, and you can purchase those directly from the campgrounds, or you can purchase them online. But again, they all go for different lengths of time. They all cost different amounts of money. There's no standard way to do this. Just do your research, look online, figure out what you need to get and where you need to get it. So the next two questions are with regards to our camper. How much has the Cruiseliner cost? So this is a big question that comes up. Yeah, this is a big question that comes up quite a lot. Why have we spent...
Which part?
Yeah. Which part of the Cruiseliner? Obviously, our Cruiseliner is not real standard anymore. We've done a bunch of videos that show you most of the mods that we've done. There are a few mods that we haven't shown people, but for the most part, we've pretty well settled on it. I think we haven't done any major mods to it for about the last 6 months. And I think short of the suspension, we do want to do some work to the suspension just to make it a little bit more capable off-road. But short of the suspension, I think it's pretty much done. There might be, we might add a few little USB outlets here or there, but for the most part, everything's sort of done.
We've got it to a point where it's for us. It's not just your standard, same old camper. We've done it to a point where it suits us. Sure. And it does everything that we need it to, except for the suspension.
Yeah, it's one of those things, all of the mods that are in it were born out of something that we wanted to do, and it's the same for Ruby, with our vehicles, with our camper, we've bought them and we've gone, okay, what do we want to use this for? What are the things that we need to do that? And then when we start doing things, we go, oh, okay, well, wouldn't it be good if we had, or wouldn't it be good if we had? We didn't just, open up the catalogue and look through the catalogue and go, we'll have that and that and that and that and that. It was more born out of what we found we needed along the road. Little things like we've got a thermostat for the shower. So we've got a digital thermostat on the hot tap on the shower outlet so that we could just set the temperature for the shower and then plug the shower tin in. We don't have to worry about turning hot and cold taps on and mixing the water and that kind of stuff. That modification was born out of a camping trip where it was really a pain to get the water temperature right.
Well, even the annex itself was that was an addition that we weren't planning on doing, but we did anyway. So yeah,
the annex. Some circumstances changed, and it meant that kids were going to be coming on a lot more trips with us, so we added the annex for the kids. Sorry, I'm going to need to see the laptop, and she's in the way. So
What are you doing?
we'll run through the numbers. So we bought the Cruiseliner brand new in 2023, and that cost about 45k. It was a little bit less. We have it's a 2023 AVan Cruiseliner 1D layout. So we got the double bed and the dinette. It was optioned with the adventure pack, which meant our dealer came with a gas, electric, hot water service, the black lining around the outside, the extra and a bunch of other little bits and pieces, a slightly upgraded axle, off-road brakes, all come with the adventure pack, not the adventure plus. Now, things we didn't order with it, we specifically ordered it with no solar, because the AVan solar offering is pretty useless for our use anyway. For most people who just want to run lights overnight or charge phones or that kind of thing, it's perfectly fine. But for our use, the standard solar offering was just no good. We ordered the full width dome windows at each end. We didn't like the single windows at the ends, and I think it opens up the space a lot more. Probably the most underrated thing that we ordered with it was the extra external hatches. So we ordered it with, as standard, it comes with one hatch in the back corner to get into the back corner storage box, and the two storage boxes underneath the seats. You can only get into them through the seats or through the side door next to the entranceway. We ordered the two external hatches that come with the Adventure Plus. We had those optioned, and they've been absolutely invaluable. I don't know what we'd do without them.
Absolutely.
Having access to that space from outside, not having to lift the cushions up from the seats every time. Like, when we have to get into those boxes from inside, I hate it. I would rather go outside and open the box up from outside to get into it than lifting these cushions. It's just super annoying. So the few little options that we put on it, but we didn't go crazy with it. The solar system was a big one. So between the batteries, the solar panels, the inverter, the chargers, the cabling, the management unit, I've put a number of $10,000 on this. It's probably more. It wouldn't be a whole lot more. A lot of the components I did source secondhand or new at discount or wholesale pricing. So we didn't pay as much as you would if you went and bought everything brand new off the shelf. But it's still a pretty significant investment. Now, over the life of the vehicle, we will save that by not having to be plugged in everywhere we go. And Mr. Turdo is on the lounge again, and he's moving the camera. In addition to that, the other things, the additional setup cost, shower tent, that's a Julka ensuite triple, that was $449. The toilet was about $100. I picked that up secondhand off Marketplace. Water system mods, I've got $200 on here. It's probably a little bit more than that, but that's what the water system mods. The TEBS Alpine Annex in 2023 delivered was $3,198. I believe that price has gone up since. That is an Alpine Annex's annex. We love that thing. It works really well. It's really flexible if we want to put only a small bit of it up if it's just us, or if we want to put the whole thing up when we've got the kids, or if we just want to put one wall up on the end to give us some protection from wind or whatever we can. So that's really cool. We put water level sensors on the tank for the water tank, and we also put a fuel sensor in there for the diesel heater. I did order some LPG sensors that unfortunately didn't work out. I do want to order some new ones for some different ones to see if they work, but I just haven't got around to that yet, just so that we've got an idea of what all of our levels are. We put a diesel heater in here, so that's about another $300. The thermostat for the hot water service was about $350, $180 in dog fencing, and a bunch of other bits and pieces.
It adds up.
Yeah, in total, we've probably spent $65,000 in total on setting this up. So $20,000 on top of the initial purchase cost. Now, there is one caveat on that, and that is we're not including the cost of installation for this stuff. So the mods, most of the modifications, or all of the modifications, I've installed. The caveat on that is I had an electrician sort out the 240 volt side of things, but as far as the 12 volt wiring, fusing, mounting of everything, mounting of all the boards, MPPTs, drilling holes in the outside, mounting connectors, replumbing the system, building the battery box, all of that I did myself. And any qualified person is going to charge you anywhere from $80 to $200 an hour, depending on where you go. You can see that the installation becomes a pretty significant part of that cost. So we're into it for about 65k, and we're not quite finished yet. We do have some suspension mods that we'll be doing soon, which are going to probably add another between 5 and 10. We're still not 100% certain of some of the costs there. So we'll just see how that all pans out. Next question. How did it make sense to do it this way over a more expensive camper? This one's pretty simple.
Didn't fit in the backyard.
Yeah. It fits in the backyard. We didn't want something with dedicated canvas, so we didn't want a pop top. We didn't want a pop up. We didn't want a hybrid.
It's just extra work and maintenance for canvases.
Yeah. We wanted to be able to cook inside. It's small. It's light. It's easy to tow. The base cost of it is not too high. I mean, let's be honest. 45k for a hardwall camper. A hardwall camper is not too bad, and 65k for where we've settled, I think is pretty damn good. You look at brand new offerings that would compete with this, with the level of functionality that we have in it, and if you can find something for under $100,000, I'll be interested in having a look, because I don't think you will. And there's really nothing else out there like the A-frame design, and we really like it.
I'm just going to go back to what's it like to have teenagers on a trip?
Oh,
like this.
Yeah. It's like this. 1 minute they're fine, and then the next
minute they're trying to bite each other's heads
off. They're fighting and playing.
That's
and
what they're doing right now.
Carrying on. And as far as the modifications are concerned, it wasn't all money. Well, the money wasn't all spent in one big hit. It was spread out over a lot of time. So, if you can spread it out like we did, and as I said, a lot of the modifications, like we've got USB ports here, and you can't see it's at a shot, but we've got USB ports in the benches. They were born out of frustration, right? They were born out of we don't have power over here. Well, if we're going to put power over here, what kind of power are we going to put over here? We're going to put a 240 volt outlet. We're going to put USBs in.
Everything runs off USBs these days, so makes sense.
Everyone is like, oh, I need more power points. No, you don't need more power points. You just need more USB outlets. My laptop, this thing, charges off USB. I got a 36 watt USB-C outlet on the bench here. It charges my laptop. Granted, it's not going to charge your laptop from dead flat while you're using it. It's going to run it. And some bigger laptops might need a 60 watt outlet, but you just install a 60 watt outlet.
Toy dogs, USB outlet.
Charge the dogs.
Charge the dogs.
We found that when we're laying in bed, because we have our head at the opposite end of the bed to the way most AVans are traditionally set up, we find that we put our laptop on top of the sink lid at night if we want to sit down and watch an episode of something or two before we go to bed. So we put a USB outlet around the corner from the sink, so that we can plug the laptop in. Like, do the modifications that make sense to you. Do the modifications that make sense to the way that you work. And do them as you need them. It'll spread the cost out over time, and eventually it'll just make sense. So, yeah. That's about it for all the questions that we got. I know this has been a lot of talking, and this is going to be a long episode. This is a really long episode for us. So, the final question that we had from everyone is, what's next? So, we've already gone on...
We've gone on a couple more things.
Yeah.
Maybe we need suggestions. Is there somewhere that you'd like us to go, that you've been to, that we haven't obviously been to yet, that might be worth looking into?
Yeah, we're always keen on checking out new locations. So if you've got like some hidden gems or some off the beaten track or private locations that aren't necessarily widely published. I mean, we're not we're not experts at finding these places, you know. We'd love to hear from you. We'd love to know where we should go. I think when we get to 1,000 subscribers, we might consider holding an off-grid AVan event or something like that, and you can come and have a look at the camper and, you know, have a meet up and meet some of the people that have been supporting us in our journey. That would be really cool. It is after Easter at the time that we're filming this, and we have had the camper out. I think once we've done one trip.
We went to
Maria.
Yeah, I think that was about
Yeah,
a couple
so-
of four-wheel drive trips.
Yeah, there's going to be some varying content come up on the channel for the next little while. We've sort of had a bit of a break from camping. We had a lot of things going on with the kids, and during the school year, our son plays soccer, so getting away for a weekend is
Usually Saturday afternoon onwards. So
yeah.
it makes it a bit tricky.
Getting away for a weekend is challenging with him playing soccer. But we have gotten away. We did go to Maria North Head, which was an awesome trip. We did some fantastic things while we were there. So
And that's coming.
yeah, that's coming. So stay tuned. Make sure you're subscribed and whatnot so that you get notifications for that episode coming up. We saw some awesome stuff up there, including some local secrets that are not locations are not very widely published. So we love checking that kind of stuff out. You know, the stuff that you have to know someone or you have to go talk to someone to find out where it is. It's not published on a map. So yeah.
I'd like to take us on some trips around the Blue Mountains because we are literally an hour away. There's so many, as you say, hidden gems there as well that I've been to a few places around the Blue Mountains, but you haven't, you know, that I'd really like to show. If that is something you're interested, we'd like to see what's in your own backyard.
Yeah,
you know,
maybe do some videos for some day trips and stuff.
Exactly.
Would be
And
cool.
on a nice day when it's not raining and flooding and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
So
had
maybe in the
had a lot of
warmer
rain.
weather, we might venture out a little bit more.
Yeah.
'Cause
And
we
maybe
can.
some places we can take these guys to. So
Yeah, go for a drive.
anyway, look, I know this has been a long one. Thanks everyone for watching, and
Hopefully we answered your questions. And,
Yeah.
or if there's any more, yeah, please feel free to. We'll add it to our next one.
yeah, if there's any more, or if you've got any questions about things that we've been through, or I haven't explained something fully, just drop a comment below, and if we can help you, we will. Or if we've already got a video for something that you've got a question for, we'll direct you at that. Always looking for new video ideas. If you've got some questions for something, how you want to do it in an AVan, we're quite happy to produce a tips and tricks episode, helping you guys out. We like producing content for you, and at the end of the day, it's our followers that help us to keep the channel going and keep the content coming. So, yeah. All right, thanks everyone for watching. I'm Josh,
I'm T.
and this has been J&T's Journey with our wrap up from our East Coast adventure.
With Pippi and Wolfie.
Make sure you like, subscribe, share the video, and we'll see you on the next one. Cheers.
Hooroo.